Welcome to this edition of Diligent Institute's Inside Today's Boardrooms. I'm TK Kerstetter, and I'll be your host for today's show. Today, we're going to be talking about why do directors need upskilling in ESG. And joining me is Helle Bank Jorgensen, who's the CEO and founder of Competent Boards. Welcome, Helle.
Well, thank you so much, TK.
So it's no secret that ESG has caused some consternation in the boardroom. People are pushing in different directions. It's an area that's difficult for people to get their arms around. So my first question for you is, obviously there is pressure from shareholders and other stakeholders for companies to take action on ESG. And that's only been increasing over the years, whether directors like it or not. So tell us a little bit about what's happening in this area currently, and then tell us why it's important for directors to have an understanding, not only what their role is, but how it impacts their company.
Well, thanks again, TK. Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, if we look at the pressure on directors, it is increasing. And yes, some directors like it more than others. So what has happened over the last, I would say, 30 plus years that I have worked on the now called ESG agenda? It seems like a constant acceleration in expectations and demands, as well as opportunities. So let me try to give you an example. In the 90s, we started to pay attention to suppliers of big brands and the so-called sweatshops, where some products were produced without perhaps taking human rights and environmental concerns into considerations. At that point, some brands said like, well, that's what the suppliers did was not their responsibility. Today, we have regulations and goods with a value of, well, $1 billion being stopped by the feds at the US borders due to human rights accusations. Back again, 30 plus years back, we've had a lot of voluntary reporting standards and a change in expectations from consumers and many other stakeholders. Now, all of these former voluntary initiatives seems to be becoming mandatory. And we are looking at this tsunami of regulations, demands, and issues that were, well, unimaginable then, like impact of AI. So we are living in this rapidly evolving world where organizations face and board of directors face a myriad of challenges that go beyond traditional measures of success. And directors play, in my mind, a pivotal role in shaping this trajectory of organizations. Think about it. We hold the power to influence strategy, drive change, ensure long-term value creation. And in the next few years, I think we will need to redesign or ensure that we redesign many products and business models. And we probably also need to go to design new products and new business models. But first and foremost, directors need to be aware of the risk and opportunities associated with these so-called ESG factors. Climate change, biodiversity, challenges, resource scarcity, social inequality, weak governance that can pose significant threats to all our organizations, but at the same time open for opportunities for, well, transformational growth. Let me give you another quick example. Take supply chain transparency. When you have the ESG analysis of your supply chain, it helps you to uncover risk associated with labor violations, human rights issues, unethical sourcing practices. And such risk can damage the company's reputation, lead to the legal and financial repercussions, but also result in major supply chain disruptions. Just think about if your goods and that 1 billion that stopped at the US border, if that's goods that you had expected, that's going to disrupt your business. So recognizing the supply chain risk, the company can seize the opportunity to transform the supply chain by implementing robust diligence processes, ensuring transparency, prioritizing responsible sourcing practices, and also by partnering with suppliers committed to, let's say, fair labor practices and sustainability, the company enhances its reputation, it strengthens the stakeholder trust, and also mitigate the supply chain risk. And I think it's also worth reminding that directors are responsible for overseeing governance practices within our organizations, as we know. Good governance include transparency, accountability, strong ethical standards. That's a cornerstone of sustainable success. And then the big one, if I can end on that, is we're in the middle of the proxy season right now, investor expectations, particularly institutional investors and assets managers. They are taking ESG factors into account in their investment decisions, whether they call it ESG or not. Directors need to understand investor expectation regarding ESG performance and disclosure. There is, in my mind, no denying the fact that the world is changing and organizations must adapt to thrive in this new landscape. As directors, we have the privilege, but we also have the responsibility to lead our organizations towards a future that is not only financially successfully, but also socially and environmentally responsible. We as directors, we must uphold our responsibility towards the sustainability of the organization strongly. And as I've said a few places, you cannot outsource your responsibility. So I think that is where we really need as directors to ensure we have the insight, we have the foresight to provide the oversight and to bring our organizations to the future that we want and the future that our stakeholders want.
So it's no secret that, in its simplest form, we've been making as directors ESG decisions along the way. It just wasn't sort of identified as sort of ESG. It was, you would be thinking about sustainability of your business or other things. Now we see it in this form that's, highly publicized as ESG. So there's a lot of directors that sort of haven't lived in this world, or at least the pressures of this world, and are now, and may not be sort of up to speed with this. So I understand that you have partnered with Diligent Institute to offer an ESG certificate program for directors. And I took the liberty of asking some of the people that went through this, and they felt that they had a very good experience. So I'd like you to just explain a little bit more about the program, sort of what's the structure, benefits, and how is it tailored to specifically to the director audience?
Well, thanks again. Yes, we are more than delighted to partner with Diligent to offer the ESG certificate program. And like you have heard a lot of positive, so do we, and that of course what we want. We want to make sure that we give that insight, we give that foresight, so the board of directors can provide the oversight. And we also want to make sure that that is from a perspective of the directors. So the programs provide this comprehensive training and development, both for current, but actually also for future directors. So we equip directors with the knowledge, the skills, the tools that's necessary to excel in their roles in this new world, as you're saying. There's a lot of these issues that we did not have any knowledge about even when I went to school. Right? So there's so much new things coming up. And what we do is that we bring in board of directors, we bring in executives, we bring in investors from all over the world to share their insight, to share their experience, so that other directors can learn both the tricks, but also what is actually that's important for bringing the insight, within environment, social governance into the businesses and create value. And when I say environment, social governance, ESG here, we're actually starting with geopolitical issues, We're then going to how do you deal with dilemmas. We're then talking about the sustainable development goals, so these 17 biggest pain points of the world or 17 biggest opportunities. We talk about ESG from an investor point of view. We talk about climate change, biodiversity, human rights. We talk about supply chain. We talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. We talk about how to have responsible use of data. We talk about all of these new regulations, reporting regulations that is coming up, and how do you have your communication with not only your shareholders, but your stakeholders, as well as tax, investment, and pay. How do we incentivize directors? How do we ensure that we not have unintended consequences when we do that? And then we look at, what does good governance really mean? And how can we structure both the board, but also the different committees in a way that bring value, of course, both to the company, but frankly also to the wider society that are then going to judge the directors and the company. So it's very much a broad area of all of these things that are coming up, and we are updating it on a, let me just say, constant basis. So there's always new issues that are being discussed. And again, it's for directors, by directors, for future directors as well. When those that go through the program have completed the program, they will get, if successfully complete the program, they will get their certificate. They also get a credit badge so that they can highlight the credentials. And we see more and more that recruiters, but also the chairs of committees are saying, well, if you've been through a program such as the competent boards and here diligent program, you actually have that insight that is needed in the boardroom today. It is also good in terms of the skills matrix, clearly, to have that, and therefore also for the career of the director. So I think all in all, you can say we incorporate inside videos from the best in class leaders around the world, directors. We give that toolbox for each of the session that give you both what is happening in the area, but also what is it that you need to know. So you get that confidence of what it is that others around the world are discussing and what you can bring to your fellow board members or to the company, and therefore excel in, not only for the company, but as I see many places, also excel the director's own career, because that director is now seen as very, very valuable in boardrooms.
Where can our viewers get more information? Because that I know you've just touched the surface, but where could they get additional information?
They can indeed, both on Diligence website as well as on Competent Boards website. So Competent Boards is www.competentboards.com, and Diligence website is diligent.com.
Helle, I want to thank you. That's again, I think this is a challenge for board members. There's groups pushing in either direction, but one thing is clear is that directors really need to get a foundational understanding so they can speak intelligently about this issue. So I wanted to thank you for taking the time for joining us.
Well, thank you so much.
And that will conclude this episode of Inside Today's Boardrooms. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back again next week when we take another look at a critical topic that'll help you be a better board member or committee member. So we'll see you then.